This video is to teach students about using thinking tools and saving folders when they're doing research. So just to hark back to rewording skills, which came in the video before, there are two key actions that you have to take whenever you're changing the words of what you find on the internet. You've got to change the words really a lot, and you've got to remember to list where you found your resources. So in the last video, we talked a lot about which rewording tricks can we use to make things look really different when we create our own assignment. So we talked about going through and changing things so that there are synonyms, moving chunks around. We talked about adding lots of extra information and adding some persuasive devices so that in the end your writing looks a whole lot different to the article that you have read on the internet. And of course, you've got to also list where you found that information. Why do we sometimes use thinking tools? They're also sometimes called higher order thinking tools. Some people even call them HOTS for some reason. Anyway, why are they so useful for research? Well, they focus your thinking and they help you to organize your research notes. And they're particularly useful if the assignment actually requires you to think in a certain way. So for example, if an assignment asks you to compare festivals in China and India, you would use this little thinking tool here, and on the left you would make sure that you put lots of information about festivals in China, and in the right column you would put lots of information about festivals in India. So that's just a very simple little thinking tool. So thinking tools are very common. You might be gathering information about arguments for and against, benefits or disadvantages, strengths and weaknesses. So these are very common ways of collecting notes when you're researching. You might be asked in your research assignment to think about causes and effects, or to find out ways that things are the same and different. Or your assignment might ask you to trace a sequence of important events and then to go into some detail. So whatever your assignment is getting you to think about, that's the thinking tool that you will use to collect your notes. Here's another set of thinking tools. You might have been asked to rank the factors that are important in a situation in order of importance, and you might have been asked to justify your opinion, or you might have been asked to go through a text and separate out the facts and the opinions. Or you might just be, while researching, you might be keen to gather some of the keywords that you need to use in the essay, and just to sharpen it up for yourself, you might define those keywords and put an example in a sentence. Andrew Fuller's scaffold for note making is one of my favourite thinking tools. He's got this idea about drawing up a box, and on the left side, you put down all the main ideas from something that you've just read. So for example, oftentimes you can just dump in the subheadings because subheadings carry main ideas. And then off to the right here, you can put supporting details for each of the main ideas. So it's a really beautiful thinking tool. Down the bottom, he suggests that you then turn all the things that you've been writing about into visual notes where you do icons and labels to remind you of the gist of what you've been learning. So if you're a visual learner, drawing or dumping icons in will really help you to capture what's important. If you need to gather facts from 3 sources, it can be really helpful to set up a thinking tool, and thinking tools are sometimes known as scaffolds, to set up a scaffold where you can put the facts in from the 3 sources in 3 columns. I like to find the article that is going to be the most useful and put the facts in to column 1 from that article. And then I like to find another 2 articles that have got top-up information so that I can demonstrate I used 3 sources. But I often like to find a really good source first, and the other 2 sources will just add some extras in to make it more interesting. Let's go back to the beginning and think about the moment that I have found some information about Indian festivals. So I'm going to set up an Indian festivals folder to save my information in, and any pictures I find, Creative Commons images, they can go into this folder as well. Any sound files to do with Indian festivals all go into this folder for this assignment. Anyway, I create a document number 1. It's my first document, and into that document, which is called Indian Festivals, and I'm looking here on the left-hand column side, I dump into this document 3 articles that I find from the internet, and I don't change any of the words. They've just been copied and pasted, and at the top of each of the articles, I put the title of the web page article, the author if he, she is listed, the organization, and the web address. So I do that on the top of each article. So now I've saved that as Indian Festivals, and I have not changed a single word from the internet. Now, the next thing I do is I save Indian Festivals as Indian Festivals V2, which means version 2. So now I've got a second version. Now, at this point, I print out the Indian Festivals document because I want to make sure that I have really changed the words a lot when I do my assignment. So I need the original words in the Indian Festivals document so I can see what I have changed. If I work well with printed documents, I might go through and do a bit of color highlighting of keywords in the original document on the printout version. Maybe I don't like working with printed versions, but that's one option. Now, in Indian Festivals version 2, I go through and I color highlight the keyword facts in the 3 articles that I have found. And I put those facts into a 3 sources grid that I make at the bottom of the document. So it's a 3 sources grid, and I've put in keyword facts into the 3 columns. Don't repeat them. So if there are same facts, then they just are in column 1, and it's extra facts that go into the next 2 columns. I don't repeat the same facts. So now I've got my 3 sources grid. And so now I start rewording and smushing all the facts in together. And I use all my tricks like synonyms, moving chunks around, adding emotive language, putting in a rhetorical question, adding lots of extra words of my own. So I'm really using the facts from 3 sources, but I'm now mixing them all up together and making sure that the wording looks really different. And underneath, I create a references list, sometimes called a bibliography, so that I'm saying where I found them. So I'm happy with that. So now I make sure that I go and I delete all the top bits, the grid and all the bits above the grid, so that all I've got left in Indian Festivals version 2 is actually my rewording and a references list. And I print that out, and then I look at my new document, and I compare it to the original wording to make sure that I have made enough changes. So just to recap that in a more visual way, when I'm doing an assignment, I save a document, and that's got the original information from the internet. And as soon as I've saved that, then I save as, and I call it the same name but version 2, and that's where I do my rewording. Now, where does my Indian Festivals folder actually sit? And it's really important to set up folders systematically in your drive so that you can actually find your files quickly. So you sort of have to take a moment to set up a few folders, but once you've done that, then it just makes life much easier for you to find all your homework assignments. So for example, a really common way to do this is to go into your drive and set up a folder for the year. So let's just say that you've set up a 2021 folder, and everything you do in 2021 will be sitting within that folder. And then underneath 2021, when you click inside it, you will find a whole lot of subject folders that you can set up. So all the subjects that you're doing for school or university, you can set them up with names, and that will help you to be able to go straight to what you need later. So here I'm showing you that inside the geography subfolder, there are a set of folders. Each folder is for a different assignment, the deserts assignment, the elephants assignment, and so on. So it would be in here that I could set up my Indian Festivals folder.